Okay, I'm back for just a bit to talk with you about my story, the one I mentioned briefly in my previous video. My book or whatever that I'm writing, that's gonna be a trilogy. And this particular story came from a dream that I had. It was James Marsters, Spike from Buffy, and he was protecting me in this big field. He had this sword, and he was protecting me from all these vampires that were coming at me. And we looked out into the field and we noticed this big warehouse, and so we ran for that. And when we got inside, there were like all these other people, like warriors or whatever, that were also trying to fight the vampires, and they let us in and they kind of helped us out. And so that was basically the dream. So that's kind of how it came about. I decided to title it Warriors of the Vampire. And even though I pictured it being a really long story, my writing wasn't very good at the time, and I wasn't being very descriptive. I wasn't separating things off into paragraphs, and I wasn't doing punctuation right. So all in all, the original Warriors of the Vampire came to be about 69 pages, which for a book, 69 pages is really very, very short. And so I let, but I was done with it, and I thought it was pretty good, and I let my dad read it, who also does writing of his own, and I let my friends read it, who do some writing. And the reviews were not very good. And looking back on it now, the story didn't make a lot of sense. I started rewriting it, let's see, I think I've been writing it all together for about 7 or 8 months. But now I have 21 chapters and over 165 pages, which is like, 2 of the originals put together. So it's definitely, I added a lot more stuff, and I fixed stuff, and I changed some of the characters and made them more believable, which I really needed to do. The story is set back in the late 1800s because, I don't know, I just think that's a really, really cool time period. So yeah, it's set back in the late 1800s, which I really try to stick to the life and times of that era. The clothing back in that day was not real attractive, and the story's got a lot of sexy kind of elements to it, and the clothing back then was just, it was not very sexy. So everyone in the story is wearing jeans, leather, or suits. The basic story, if I could sum it up real quick, is a group of vampires is trying to take over the world, one town at a time. But once they get rid of this town, they're pretty much going to take over the world. So the group of vampires, their leader, Robert, falls in love with one of the warriors that has come to take down, the group of vampires and him. And things get really, really confusing when she falls in love with him too. And the whole moral of the story is no matter how evil or bad you are for thousands and thousands of years, God can still forgive you. That's the moral of the story. But there are a lot of cool subplots. There's a lot of stuff going on in this story. And there are a lot of cool little other stories going on just besides this romance between, the warrior and the vampire. So, like the warriors, they've been trained at a very early age and taken out of their homes and taught how to fight, and they have the superhuman strength, and they're faster, and they're really skilled in fighting in all different types of ways. And one of the subplots is that they get to fight, the warriors fight alongside with a lot of civilians, a lot of human people that don't have all these powers. And so you get to see how the warriors fight and how the humans fight, and how much more difficult it is for them because, they don't have all these powers, and so it's a bit of a struggle between, the two groups. Another thing that's really cool, I think, in it, is that you're not just all for the good guys, because, you know, there's a lot of background for the vampires, so you get to kind of know them and see it from their side. And I'm really speaking about one particular vampire, which is the main guy, Robert. So you really get to know a lot about his background, and you're not totally for him, but you're not totally against him either. So there's background for some of the vampires too, not just the good guys. So I use actors and actresses, but I know a lot of people like to imagine their own characters, and so I give all the actors and actresses different names. Usually before I send the story to someone, I'll ask them, like, do you want to picture the characters in your own way, or do you want me to send you an email with the pictures of the cast and who everyone is supposed to be? There's Sarah Michelle Gellar, Bobby Darin, Amy Lee, Kevin Spacey, Johnny Depp, both female singers from the band Tattoo. There's Catherine Zeta-Jones, Britney Spears, James Marsters, Spike, you know, from Buffy, and Angel from Buffy. All together, and you know, there's a lot more than that. Because altogether there is a cast of 37 people. If anyone is interested in reading and reviewing the story, I can send you the first 2 or 3 chapters, and you can read the story and review it and tell me what you think about it. Just don't steal it, because I'm going to publish it and it is my story. All characters, all events are totally mine and totally original, and this is video confirmation right here that this is my story, okay? So I will get you if you try to steal it, okay? I will get you. I don't care what it takes. I will hunt you down and find you and get you. You will not be stealing this story, okay? Let me tell you. You don't want to unleash my dark side, okay? So, that's pretty much it. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.